Hey, what's up guys? Ophelia coming at you with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile, and today we're going to be chazzing it up as I'm really excited to bring you this deck profile for the Armed Dragon Catapult Cannon. I can't remember for how long I've actually loved Chaz Princeton as a character. He's my favorite character from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and one of my favorite rivals in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! history. Back, if you're not familiar with Chaz's deck, back in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, he did play a deck that comprised mostly of Armed Dragons, Ojamas, and V to Z Union monsters. And whilst he did have these very exclusive, very weird anime exclusive cards, such as Ojama Ride, to make his Union deck kind of work, we didn't actually receive anything physically in the TCG that would ever let these three decks actually come together. But now that we have the Legendary Duelist Ancient Millennium Duelist pack, which you can check an opening for I've done here on the channel, we actually have some really cool new Ojama cards that actually make this thing sort of playable. Not only that, we do get a really cool new boss monster called the Armed Dragon Catapult Cannon. Now, of course, I'll be going over the Armed Dragon Catapult Cannon once we get to it in the deck profile. Now, guys, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel and let me know your thoughts on the dragon, on this deck, and on the monster itself. It is worth noting, of course, this deck does inherently have a chance to brick if you do play all three types, the Ojamas, Armed Dragons, and the V to Z Union monsters, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. Link format does slow this deck down quite a lot, because if you didn't have the Union format, you could easily turbo this thing out a lot faster. But, of course, Fusion Tag does help you. I believe there was a ruling somewhere that they found that Fusion Tag doesn't apparently work for Contact Fusion in the TCG. If I'm wrong about that, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. But this deck will be... this deck profile does take into account that we can use Fusion Tag to Contact Fuse. We're not always going to be using Fusion Tag because we do play everything. But... it's there just in case we need it. So guys, please feel free to let me know your comments on the deck as well. If you have any suggestions, if you've built your own, please feel free to let me know what I can do to add to the profile. And now, without any further delay, let's chaz it up and get it to the deck profile. So for starters, guys, I'm going to go through our monster lineup. Obviously, we played 2 copies of Ojama Yellow, 2 copies of Ojama Black, and 2 copies of Ojama Green. Where would we be making a Chaz Princeton deck without Chaz Princeton's signature trio of misfits? The 3 Ojamas. Now, I've seen some other deck profiles for this that only run 1 copy of each of the 3 Ojamas, and then they run something weird like 3 Ojama Magic, or 3 Oja Magic. Now, I find that running 2 Oja Magic and 2 of each of the Ojamas, basic Ojamas, is actually a decent combo. Because if you're running like multiple copies of Oja Magic and only 1 copy of each Ojama, and you draw one of the 3 Ojamas, you can't actually use Magic to add. And Magic gives you such a plus, especially in this deck, that you've got to run at least 2 copies of each. Pretty straightforward. They're all vanilla level 2s with 0 attack and 1000 defense, and that's it. You use them to summon your pieces, and then we're going to go through as we go through. Next up, we have 3 copies of the best main deck Ojama monster, which is Ojama Blue. And when Ojama Blue is your best monster in your main deck, you know you're an outdated archetype. So Ojama Blue is a level 2 effect monster that when it's destroyed by battle, you get to add 2 Ojama cards from your deck to your hand. Really, really good combo, given the fact that it is able to search out any 2 Ojama cards that you want, including itself, and you can get 2 copies of the same card. And there is a really cool combo you can do with a card called... Oja Matching, where you can turbo this thing out. You can play like 3 of these things. The only problem with this card is it does have to be destroyed by battle, but it does get you 2 cards, and it can get you any 2 Ojama cards, including monsters, spells, and traps, so it's up to you. So I feel like that is a decent trade-off. Unfortunately, it's just so outdated now, and if your opponent, this is kind of why you might want to go second with this deck, so you do get the draw, but you might find that this, if your opponent doesn't normal summon the monster, you can't really do much, and unfortunately, you can't really do anything about that. Next up, we have 1 copy of Ojama Red. So Ojama Red has an effect when you normal summon it. You can normal summon up to, special summon up to 4 other Ojama monsters from your hand in attack mode. I was testing him at 2, testing him at none, testing him at 1. I think he works best at 1, because if you do use matching, which we're going to go through later, you get the extra normal summon from matching. You normal summon him, and you get to call out another Ojamas. You can easily use this to go into something, use that combo if you're summoning 4 Ojamas to go into a Firewall Dragon, which is pretty cool. Also, you can use it to easily go into Link Spiders and stuff like that, so it's up to you. Next up, we have 1 copy of V Tiger Jet, 1 copy of W Wing Catapult, 1 copy of X Head Cannon, 1 copy of Y Dragon Head, and 1 copy of Z Metal Tank. I'm not really going to go over their effects because you're not going to use their effects, you're going to use them to banish. Now, here we come to the first part of the first of our new Ojama spells, and because we're talking about multiple archetypes in the same deck, let's talk about the Ojama spell for the VW XYZ monsters. So this card is called Oja Simulation. So what it does is you reveal a Light Machine fusion monster from your extra deck. Let's take into account, say, XYZ Dragon Cannon. Then you get to banish any number of Ojama monsters you want from your hand, field, or graveyard equal to the number of fusion material monsters you want to special summon listed on that monster. And you get to call those Ojama, you get to call those pieces out from your hand, deck, or graveyard, which makes it really good. The other effect of Ojama Simulation, which it shares with Oja Match once we get to it, is you can banish it to shuffle 3 banished Ojamas back to your deck and draw a card. This card works not only well in this deck, but there is a build called Ojama ABC, where you use this to summon ABC Dragon Master. And if you guys would like to see a deck profile for that, please feel free to let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to put one up for you guys once I get my ABC call. Next up, we're going to the next archetype in the set, in this deck, which is the Armed Dragon archetype. So we play 2 copies of level 5. So yes, guys, we don't actually play any copies of Armed Dragon level 3, despite the fact that matching is a quick play, and you can do it in your opponent's end phase, so that you can get a free level up to level 5. Level 3 does kind of brick the deck, as if you draw it, you still have to normal summon it. Level 5 has an effect, of course, where you ditch a card, destroy something, a monster in opponent's field attackers than his. You're not going to do that. The idea is to turbo this thing out as quickly as possible, so you can go into your Armed Dragon level 7. And of course, the best way to do that is with the spell card Level Up. And of course, we do play 3 copies of Level Up, which allows us to summon our Armed Dragon level 7, ignoring summoning conditions. I don't play Armed Dragon level 10 in the deck either, but I might, because I don't actually own one. I would love to get one and then tech one in just for memes, because it is still a valid target for Oja Match. Speaking of Oja Match, this is the new Ojama card that helps us with the Armed Dragons. It's a quick play spell card that allows us to send 1 Ojama card from our hand or field to the graveyard to add an Armed Dragon and an Ojama monster with different names from our deck to our hand, or our graveyard to our hand, which is really handy as well. And then immediately after the effect resolves, we get an extra normal summon. So the card you're mostly going to want to be ditching with this is, believe it or not, Oja Magic. Because when Oja Magic goes to the graveyard, of course we play 2 copies of Oja Magic, clearly, you get to add 1 copy of green, yellow, and black from your deck to your hand. And of course, you're going to be using this combo with blue, so when blue dies, you get matching and you get magic. Use matching to ditch magic. Get another blue and an Armed Dragon of your choice. Summon the blue straight away, ram again, and you get to keep doing the search combo. Really, really good. Also, Oja Magic is a really good target to ditch for your XYZ Dragon Cannons effect to destroy a card, because you still get to add 3 Ojamas. Really cool effect. Of course, matching also has the effect where you can banish it to shuffle 3 of your banished Ojamas from your banished back to deck and to draw a card. Our last Ojama spell we play is 1 copy of the Ojama field spell, Ojama Country. Sometimes you need the extra special summon, you want to ditch a card, you need a way to ditch magic quickly and get a blue back for a monster for a tribute, so that's pretty much it. It does swap the attack and defense of all monsters on the field if you do have an Ojama, so it can, even if you have level 7 out, it can put your level 7 down to 1k attack, but the good thing about the boss monster is we can summon it from the graveyard, so... Now moving on to the other spells we do in the deck, we play 3 copies of Fusion Tag. So Fusion Tag, of course, like I said at the start of the video, there is potentially some ruling where I can't use Fusion Tag for VWXOZ Dragon Catapult Cannon, which I don't see why not, why I can't do that, but anyway. Yeah, so basically we reveal a monster in our extra deck, and the monster on our field becomes 1 fusion monster on our extra deck, and monsters on our field become names are treated as that, so we can banish them to summon VWXOZ Dragon Cannon. We draw 2 because we need to draw into it, and we cannot search it. Next up, we have 1 copy of Monster Reborn, pretty straightforward, gives us some more plays. Our boss monster can actually be summoned from the graveyard, which is really handy. 1 copy of Upstart Goblin, because we do need the draw. And our last 2 spells we play in the deck are 2 copies of Magical Mallet. So Magical Mallet, believe it or not, is a Chaz Princeton card, so we are perfectly allowed to play this in the deck. It allows us to shuffle any number of cards we want from our hand back to our deck and draw the same amount of cards. Unfortunately, this isn't the anime, and we can't all be Chaz and shuffle Magical Mallet back into our deck like he does, but that would be really, really cool. Main reason why Magical Mallet actually works well in this deck is the matching magic combo can give us so many cards in hand if you manage to get everything else, most of the stuff out without using that, and it can be a really good way, if even in opening hand, to mulligan or to dig through your deck for that level up, which is level up, or that fusion tag, which can be so annoying to get your hands on, but it's still a really cool Chaz Princeton card and has a lot of memes attached to it, so it's really nice to play in a deck like this. But obviously, guys, Magical Mallet is completely up to you if you guys want to play it or not. Moving on to our traps, we do only play 2 because this deck really can't, at least in my build, I didn't really have space to splash too many negates for the opponent, because we're trying to play as quickly as possible and blending everything you do can to brick. So we play 2 copies of the new Ojama trap card from the set as well, which is called Ojama Pajama. So if it is a continuous trap that is if an armed dragon monsters or a light machine fusion monsters you control be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish 1 Ojama card from your hand, deck, field, or graveyard instead. So that's really good because it gives you some protection. You don't have a lot of protection in the deck, but we do have some in case we do brick and we can't turbo that as quickly as we would like. Also, this effect is not once per turn and it's 2 monsters. Unfortunately, if our monsters get negated, we can't really do too much, or if they solemn strike our stuff, because we can't actually use Monster Reborn on our XYZ Dragon Cannon, but the fusion tags do give us some recovery there as well. The other effect of the card is during once per turn, we can choose one of the following effects. During our main phase, we can add 1 Ojama card from our deck and then discard 1. Now, why this card is so good that it says add then discard is you can just add Ojamagic and just ditch Ojamagic and get 3 Ojamas to your hand, which is pretty cool. The other effect is if it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon as many of your banished Ojama monsters as possible, which is really, really cool. Gives you some nice recovery. This card works really well with Ojama ABC, and the search effect is actually pretty handy in pure Ojamas as well. So making it a very good, versatile card for Ojama decks. And finally, our last 2 main deck cards, we play 2 copies of Ojama Duo. No, we don't play Ojama Trio because giving your opponent 3 tokens is very, very bad in this format. Similar with Ojama Duo, it gives our opponent 2 tokens. The reason why we play Duo is once we can banish it from our graveyard, except during the turn it is sent to the graveyard, to special summon 2 Ojama monsters from our deck. So we can use it to summon blue, and we're probably going to summon red, because I don't really want to summon a green, yellow, or black to the field unless I've used up all my magics, which is another reason why we play red. It's a really good card because it's also got Ojama in its name, so it's a decent ditch target, and we can always use Ojama Pajama in our turn to shuffle, to add this, discard this, and in our opponent's turn, if we broke, banish this, summon 2 blue and red to protect ourselves. The only downside with Duo is they have to be with different names, so you can't go into 2 blue, which I really wish you could, guys. So that's it for our main deck, guys. If you have any suggestions on the main deck, please feel free to let me know in the comments like I said. Let's move on to the extra deck. Now, this is not a completed extra deck. I'm still working on the deck. But we're just going to go through what we have right now. So first off, we have 2 copies of VW Tiger Catapult. It can only be special summoned from my Fusion deck. Fusion deck, that's how old this card is. This card is yet to receive another reprint. By banishing the above monsters you control, you don't use poly, and then by ditching 1 card from your hand, you can change the battle position of an opponent's monster. And, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool effect. We play 2 copies, 1 to actually summon ourselves, and then if one gets dead, we can always fusion tag the other one. Pretty straightforward. We play 2 copies of the XYZ Dragon Cannon. Man, this card was so cool back in the day. It can only be special summoned from your fusion deck. Yeah, it's going to be special from your fusion deck by removing XYZ from your field, which of course you can summon through simulation, same with VW. And once per turn, not once per turn, sorry, you can discard 1 card from your hand to destroy 1 card on your opponent's side of the field. So both VW and XYZ can ditch magic to do something to your opponent's field, and add you the 3 Ojamas as a result, which is a really cool combo that you can do. I don't think Chaz ever did it. Chaz probably would have done it at least once or twice. The main reason why with our simulation we end up going to XYZ Dragon Cannon is it gives us 3 Ojamas immediately to shuffle back to our deck to banish to draw a card. Pretty straightforward there. Next up, we have 2 copies of the original boss monster for this part of the archetype, which is the VW XYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon, which can only be summoned by banishing VW Tiger Catapult and XYZ Dragon Cannon. And it can only be special summoned from the fusion deck. Again, this is really old. So the reprint actually says must first be special summoned from the extra deck by banishing the above card's control. And then once per turn, unfortunately, it does say target now. You can target 1 monster one card your opponent controls, banish it. And when it declares an attack on the opponent's monster, you can change the battle position. So, pretty decent effect for this monster. The fact that you can banish with it and then go into your Dragon Catapult Cannon, if you can, is pretty freaking cool. Now, here's the card you guys were waiting to see. The card that basically gives this deck a boss monster And yes, it actually took me so many packs to get it, which is why, unfortunately, you won't see it in my opening. But we do have 2 copies of the boss monster itself. It's finally here, so I can finally do the profile. The Armed Dragon Catapult Cannon. Now, a lot of people criticize this card before the lazy artwork. I think it's freaking awesome. It's basically a Mecha Armed Dragon level 7 riding the VW XYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon. If this doesn't scream Chaz it up, I don't know what does. It is a fusion monster that requires you to fuse VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon and Armed Dragon level 7. It must first be special summoned from your extra deck. During a duel where you have special summoned first VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon and Armed Dragon level 7. So there is a potential reason you don't have to have Armed Dragon level 7 and VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon on the field at the same time to summon this thing. Thank fuck, because they are hard enough to summon as it is. And then, in order to summon this, once they are done, you banish those from your field or graveyard, meaning you can use them from your graveyard to summon it, which is really cool. Its other effect is your opponent cannot use effects of any cards that they have that have been banished, which is pretty insane, given its actual fucking broken effect. Its main effect, and the reason why it's actually so cool to build a deck around, is once per opponent's turn as a quick effect, you can banish 1 card from your extra deck or main deck, so we could just banish Ojamas to shuffle them back into our deck, later on, to banish all face-up cards. Banish face-up all cards our opponent controls and is in their graveyard. So, wow. Now, if you're hitting their combo pieces with this, they can't use their combo pieces again. Obviously, meta decks, they're going to trounce this deck, but I'm sure there's going to be decks out there that are going to turbo this thing out a lot faster than this. But this is a really insanely cool boss monster, and it just screams Chaz. I mean, this is such a gimmicky anime card, and Chaz's deck was literally anime the deck. When GX was focusing around decks that were focusing, that were trying to focus around single strategy. You mean, like, Jaden was focusing on E-Heroes, Cyrus had Broids, Zane had the strongest deck in the anime with Cyber Dragons, etc, etc. Then you had Chaz. Hi, I play whatever the fuck I want, and it works because I am an anime character. So this card definitely is a Chaz card. Awesome card from Konami's design. Love it. It's easily one of my favorite anime-inspired cards. Sadly, he never played it in the anime, but I'm sure he would have if it existed. Moving on to the rest of the monsters in the X deck, we do have to play a few others. We play Ronin Raccoon Sendayo at 2, because this card is actually really decent stall fodder for Ojamas. It's 2 beasts. You can detach 1 to get a token, and that token becomes equal to the attack of the highest monster currently on the field. And Ronin Raccoon Sendayo cannot be destroyed so long as you control another beast-type monster by battle or effects. So if you have an opponent's monster, if you're really bricking and there's an opponent's monster you need to beat over, just go into this, make the token, use the token to beat over something, and then because the Ojamas go to the graveyard anyway, so you can still use the effect. Pretty handy effect as well. Next up, we have, moving on to our links, we have 1 copy of Link Spider. So Link Spider works so well with Ojamas, it's not even funny. So it's 1 normal monster, so 1 Ojama. And when you Link Summon it, you can special summon a level 4 or lower normal monster from your hand to a zone this card points to. Another Ojama, pretty straightforward there. And then you can use those 2 Ojamas to go into a Proxy Dragon. I don't have a Proxy Dragon, but yeah, you can go into a Proxy Dragon with that. And then use that, and then if you summon them all with red and stuff, you can use that to go into your Decode Talker. So Decode Talker does point left and right, so getting out Decode Talker really early can let you play this thing legit using VW and XYZ, which is perfectly possible in the deck. And finally, 1 other monster you do play is Firewall Dragon, because it's a Link 4, and the match magic red combo gets you a free Firewall Dragon, so why the fuck not? Why wouldn't we play Firewall Dragon? Because we can. You can also run in any other Link 4s you want, like Borreload and stuff like that. In the end, it's up to you guys what you want to play in your extra deck. But of course, you do need to run at least 1 copy of VW, XYZ, VW Dragon Catapult Cannon, and then of course the boss monster. But anyway guys, that is my deck profile for it. Please feel free to let me know in the comments, like I said, if you enjoyed the video, if you liked the deck profile, and let me know what you'd like to see for a next video. I have a few Weiss Schwarz videos coming up very soon, including some Love Live mirror matches having Nico taking on all of the other 9 girls. I have to, once I find some more people to play the decks, there is a Rin, Nico versus Rin, coming out very, very soon, so keep an eye out for that. And please feel free to like and subscribe for more content. Until then, I'll catch you guys for my next video.